This huge site, 120-acre site, had 716 low-income public housing units on it. And we created this new master plan community. And what distinguishes High Point, it's sustainable, it's green, and it's really nicely designed, which is really important in terms of, I think, making green work. This yellow building has 10 units. One of the things we have here is about 15 units per acre. The surrounding neighborhood is only 7 units per acre. This is a lot more efficient way to use resources, partly because we have attached units. You can see that's a 1, 2, 3, a fourplex there. So they have shared walls. They're not going to use as much heat for their houses, and it's a much more efficient way to build. And we have this more compact than the surrounding neighborhood. And the way to kind of offset some of that is to have things like these pocket parks where it just feels greener and more palatable to live in a denser community. Look at this yellow house here. We involved the neighbors and the residents in helping figure out what to do here. And they said, well, make sure it doesn't look like barracks, make it look like big houses. So that's a duplex there. We built multifamily housing that looks like big houses, but they don't function like big houses. They're almost all townhouses, and that's more energy efficient. After World War II, they started building neighborhoods for cars. And this neighborhood really is about walking and walkability as opposed to getting cars through as fast as possible. We have fairly small parking places. They're not on the street. There's some places where we have cars parked next to the houses in front where we just couldn't work out the street system to have the cars in the alleys. But generally, they're almost all in the alleys. This is the mixed-use site. This will be condominiums and a retail center. We'll definitely have a coffee shop and a cleaner. We're trying to get maybe a deli, a restaurant, some other things, so people can walk to those services. They don't have to get in their car. These bricks are recycled from an old bakery in Oregon, and the floors in these houses were actually from an old high school and a gymnasium that was torn down in Seattle. These all meet the Energy Star requirements. Very energy efficient. In the back of the house here, there's a heat pump on the side. It's a very efficient way to heat a house. It's probably the most efficient way to do that. We tried to really heavily plant the native vegetation and basically beat weeds at their game. We don't use herbicides and pesticides in maintaining this. But one of the ways to keep weeds out is to just plant it very thickly. And this has been around about 2 years now. You can see it's done really well. We won't have to irrigate. For the first 2 years we're irrigating. You can see the sprinkler heads here. But after that, we shouldn't have to irrigate at all. So it obviously saves us a whole lot of money. And there's no reason not to use native plantings. The lawn was because we have so many kids here, but we mulch, mow it. See, it leaves the cut grass and it's used to fertilize it. You don't catch the grass after you mow it. There's green ways to maintain the lawn, and that's what we're doing. That builder for this decided to have a solar hot water heater here as an option. Nobody bought it. This is not a $100 million house community, so people, they're very cost conscious of buying something. So the extra $6,000 or $8,000, it wasn't worth it for them. Each microclimate is different in terms of what you do to make it green. And here, the sun doesn't shine that much. It absolutely makes sense to really insulate a house and have really high quality windows. In the summer, the photovoltaics would make a lot of sense, but the economics don't work here for photovoltaics as much as just, give me R38 in the ceiling and R24 in the walls, and then you just aren't going to use as much gas or electricity. There's one really interesting thing that we realize, and I think our builders are realizing, why they're doing the green features in their houses, is that in a couple years, if they decide to sell, they assume that that will be what's expected of the market. So it's worth it to pay more money now to get those features because it will really help you in the appreciation of the house.